Hello and welcome to today's Polkadot JS tutorial where I'm going to show you how you can delegate your Kusama to an active voter in referendums so that the user turnout can be bigger. Maybe you want to contribute to the ecosystem, but you simply don't have the time to vote yourself because as of now, with open governance on Kusama, it can get quite overwhelming. It can turn pretty much into a full-time job, let's say maybe a part-time job, right? Just to keep track on all the different referendums, especially the funding ones from the treasury section. So we'll talk about that as well in a moment. But first, let's kick things off with how you can delegate to a voter, right? So we've got two different accounts here, as you can see in Polkadot JS. We've got the test account. We'll assume this is the main one, and this is the voting account, the one that we're going to use to vote with, right? So what we want to do is we want to delegate the Kusama, if we had any, of course, from the test account over to the voting account. And I'm going to show you the steps on how to do that. Well, the first thing you need to do is you need to go to Developer, Extrinsics, and here you need to select the account that you want to use. Okay, so we want to use the test account. This is our main account, which would have the balance, right? We'll assume it does. We'll select the first extrinsic and we'll go up to the top, and it's called conviction voting. We select conviction voting, and then for the second one, we leave it as it is with delegate, right? What this does is it delegates the voting power with some given conviction of the sending account to a specific user. Now, here is the interesting part. Okay, now we've got the class. Now, what do we choose for the class? Well, here it starts at 0, but we can assign a different number. But we don't know what this actually represents unless we look into it, right? So for someone who's non-techie, they may be wondering, what is this class for? Well, we have to select the class as we've got here in the referendum section. If we go to referenda, governance, referenda in Kusama, and we go to submit proposal, you could see the submission track here. Okay, so each submission track has a number before the name. Okay, this represents the class. Okay, this is the ID basically. 0 is for root, which is the very first one. Then whitelist color is 1, staking admin is 10, 11 is treasurer, and so on. So what we're mostly interested in, it all depends on what you want to do, right? Maybe you want access to everything, but let's assume that you're only interested in small tipper, big tipper, small spender, medium spender, and big spender. And so you're only interested in 30, 31, 32, 33, and 34. So you want to give access to all of these. Okay, now how do you do that? Well, we'll go back to the section here in the extrinsics, and now we assign the class. So let's say 30. Okay, we said we wanted to give access to 30 first because this is the small tipper. Now the next thing you do is you select the account. We want to give access to the voting account so they can vote on our behalf. Now, what is the conviction level? We have to select the conviction. Now, just keep in mind here that this is dangerous if you select 6x, because this does lock it for the longest period of time, and maybe you don't want to lock it for so long. It's like over 230 days, so it is a long time, right? But maybe you only want to give someone access to, say, 3x, which should be about 23, 24 days, in fact. So it's not too bad, right? And so let's assume you want to give them 3x conviction voting power. And then we choose the balance. So what balance do we want to assign to this person to be able to vote with from our own balance? And we should normally use the staked balance, because if you're staking and you're generating dividends, I mean, you don't care about that staked Kusama because it is locked up. You may be more interested in the transferable one because maybe you want to transfer them out for whatever reason, and you won't be able to if they're locked in governance. So hence why it's wise to actually choose the staked Kusama that you don't actually need, which you're using to nominate to a certain validator just to generate passive income. So now let's choose the balance. And so the balance, let's assume we had 10 Kusama. So we would give 3x voting power with 10 Kusama to the voting account. What this means is that every time the voting account votes on a small tipper request, so for example over here, so let's assume we wanted to vote on the small tipper, which is under class 30, as we can see here. We just hit vote. Then we will select the voting account because that's the one we're going to be using. And let's assume we voted with 50 KSM and with 1x voting balance. Well, what would actually happen is once we would hit vote and sign this transaction, we would actually vote with 50 KSM with 1x voting balance, which means you would lock our Kusama for 7 days. And on top of that, the main account would also use 10 Kusama with 3x conviction because that's what we've been given. Okay, that's what was delegated to us. So it all depends on what they delegate to. It doesn't matter if you vote with 1 Kusama. It doesn't matter if you use 6x conviction or 0.1x conviction. At the end of the day, the person that has delegated their Kusama to you will always be voting with 3x the voting balance that they've delegated to you. In that case, it's 10 Kusama. So what would happen is you would have 50 Kusama with a 1x vote in favor, okay, as an I, and the additional 30 Kusama because of the 10 Kusama with 3x conviction. Therefore, it would be multiplied by 3 and you would get 30 Kusama. So in total, 80 Kusama would be delegated towards that vote, towards the I. Now, if we were to vote NAI, again, it would be exactly the same except the opposite. So we would be voting with 50 KSM and 1x conviction with an I vote, and then because of the delegated amount, it would also vote with an additional 30 KSM with an I vote because of the 3x conviction. So that's how it actually works, and it is quite an interesting process. It does make life easier, and apparently you can delegate as many times as you want to somebody. So if people want to delegate to me, for example, I will be posting my public address, which I use for voting, in the description of this video and also in the pinned comment if you want to check it out. And if you want to delegate, you simply just follow the process that I showed you. Again, what you actually have to do is you have to go through this process each time, unfortunately, for every single track. Okay, so like I said, to me personally, I believe that the tracks 30, 31 for the big tipper, then 32 for the small spender, 33 for the medium spender, and 34 for the big spender are the ones that are needed, because these are the ones where most of the activity is happening. As you can see here, people requesting funds, these have to be reviewed, etc. So again, if you are staking your Kusama and you are interested to delegate your Kusama to somebody else so they can vote, generate the user turnout, which is awesome, then you can do that. So yeah, that's as simple as that. That's all you have to do. Again, just a kind reminder, if you did it once, then what actually happens is that this configuration actually gets saved. So what you can do is you don't actually have to go back. It's because I've closed it now, so we can't see it. It's reset, but we would have signed this message and we would have hit on submit transaction and signed it, then this exact configuration would have remained on the page. So we could just simply change the class from 30 to 31, then sign the message again, change to 32, sign the message again, change to 33, sign the message again, change to 34, sign the message again, and so on. So that's how it would be. It would be very, very easy. And by the way, you are not using up any of your transaction fees. Every time that person votes, the person that you've delegated to, they will be paying the transaction fee. So there's no risk for you whatsoever apart from that lockup time. But once again, because you're delegating the voting power, it's awesome. It helps with the user turnout within the ecosystem. It makes it look as if there are extra people voting, even when they're not actually voting because they are too busy. Now you understand how to delegate, but how do you undelegate? Let's say for some reason you decide enough is enough. I don't want to be using my Kusama to vote in governance anymore. I simply want to unstake my Kusama. I want to have the freedom to be able to transfer it out whenever I want. Well, in that case, you simply change the second class here in the extrinsic. We leave conviction voting in, and the second one would then be undelegate from the list, undelegate class. What this does is it undelegates the voting power of the sending account for a particular class of polls. Remember, I told you that if you are to delegate to someone on the different tracks, so say small tipper, big tipper, small spender, medium spender, big spender, so it would be 30, 31, 32, 33, and 34. So we would enter 30 here to start the first one, sign the transaction, change to 31, sign the transaction, change to 32, sign the transaction, and so on until all of them would be signed, and then you would be undelegating from each one. Remember that you would need to wait because of that lockup time, but once that's done, that's it. You're basically ready. So that's how it works. That's been it from today's short tutorial. I hope you found this informative. Please don't forget to hit the like to help with the algorithm, and drop a comment below telling me what you think. Once again, kind reminder, if you want to delegate your staked Kusama to me, if you follow these exact steps, you can do that. Just simply add my public address here for the account, of course. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.